Welcome to the Pre-Snap Podcast Props Edge Show presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville with your 5 best player prop bets for Week 10 in the NFL on the Underdog Fantasy app. If you don't already have the Underdog Fantasy app, make sure to download it. New users who use the promo code LineStar and deposit at least $10 can get up to $100 of your deposit matched. Use that promo code. Link to that is below. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, do us a favor. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and sign up for notifications. Notifications are important because a lot of the times the lines change and we want you guys to lock in these bets right when we come out with our videos. Last week on the Underdog Fantasy app, we were 2 of 5. However, we did get hit with some bad beats. We took Robert Tonyan, tight end for the Packers, over 30.5 receiving yards. Yeah, he had 29. We also took Bears wide receiver Darnell Mooney over 43.5 receiving yards, and he had 43. So some bad beats there. We're looking to turn our luck around this week. Let's make it 5 for 5 this week on the Underdog Fantasy app. We're starting things off with a Thursday night football game between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers in an NFC South showdown. I'm taking Cordarrelle Patterson over 6.5 receiving yards. Last week was Patterson's first week back in the NFL after being on the IR. He had been dealing with a knee injury over the past couple of weeks, but he came back. He had just 1 reception, but it was for 9 yards, and he hit that over. He's hit the over in 3 of 5 games that he's played this season. And Carolina ranks 27th in pass defense DVOA versus running backs. So Patterson's in a great spot to hit this over. You know the Atlanta Falcons will just game plan away for Patterson to get the ball. All it takes is 1 reception for him to hit that over. Take Patterson over 6.5 receiving yards. Next up, I'm going with a fantasy football stud and a player who is likely to have a monster game this weekend. I'm going Giants running back Saquon Barkley over 110.5 rush and receiving yards. Barkley's averaging 121 rush and receiving yards per game this season. Let's be honest though, Barkley could crush this over on rush yards alone. He's averaging 97 rushing yards per game. That is 3rd best in the NFL, and this week's matchup is mouthwatering, going up against the Houston Texans, who rank dead last in rush defense DVOA. The Texans are allowing the opposing RB1s to average 122 yards per game. Last week, Miles Sanders had 93. The week prior, Derrick Henry absolutely torched this defense for 219 rushing yards. You telling me the quad father can't crush this over? Give me Saquon over 110.5 rush and receiving yards. Keeping it with the star running back trend, we're taking San Francisco 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey over 112.5 rush and receiving yards. CMC's averaging 110 rush and receiving yards per game, and he had 149 last week against the Los Angeles Rams. He's hit the over in 4 of 8 games. Keep in mind, though, that the first 6 games of the season he spent running behind a Panthers offensive line that ranked 31st according to Pro Football Focus. He also spent one of those games just trying to get caught up to speed with the San Francisco 49ers after he was traded. So really last week was the first where he had a week under his belt of just getting acclimated to a brand new offense. Think of what the limit is for CMC in this 49ers offense this week going up against the Los Angeles Chargers, who rank 29th in rush defense DVOA. The Chargers also rank 31st in pass defense DVOA versus running backs. This Chargers defense just is not the same, especially without linebacker Joey Bosa, who's still out with that groin injury that has been sidelining him since week 3. So this Chargers defense just hasn't been able to stop anyone, and CMC should feast this week. Take Christian McCaffrey over 112.5 rush and receiving yards. My co-host Tyler Wiemann couldn't be here to give out his prop bet in person, so I will be his proxy for this week. Tyler is going with Chicago Bears wide receiver Darnell Mooney over 43.5 receiving yards. Mooney's averaging 45 receiving yards per game. He's gone over in 5 of the last 6 games and going up against a Detroit Lions defense that ranks 26th in pass defense DVOA. They're allowing opposing wide receivers to average 190 yards per game. That is 27th in the NFL. Mooney should have a field day this week. Take Mooney over 43.5 receiving yards. For my prop bet of the week on the Underdog Fantasy app, I am taking Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Christian Kirk over 59.5 receiving yards. Not only is Kirk averaging 64 receiving yards per game, and he's hit the over in 6 of 9 games this season, he's going up against the Kansas City defense. This is a trend that I have been cashing in on all season long. The Kansas City pass defense ranks dead last in DVOA versus the opposing team's wide receiver 1. Mike Evans, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs have all crushed their respective overs against the Chiefs. We've also really seen the chemistry developing between Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence and Kirk over the last couple of weeks. In fact, Kirk says when 16's rolling, we're all rolling. They're definitely going to have to be rolling because they're going up against Patrick Mahomes, which is another reason why I like this particular prop, because the game plan will dictate for them to be airing it out a lot in order to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. So take Christian Kirk over 56.5 receiving yards. Here's a recap of all of our picks that you can lock into the Underdog Fantasy app. Falcons running back Cordarrelle Patterson over 6.5 receiving yards. This is a Thursday night one, so make sure to get in early on that one. Saquon Barkley over 110.5 rush and receiving yards. CMC over 112.5 rush and receiving yards. Darnell Mooney over 43.5 receiving yards. That's Tyler's pick. And I am going with Jags wide receiver Christian Kirk over 59.5 receiving yards. Lock those picks into the Underdog Fantasy app. If you don't already have the Underdog Fantasy app, make sure to download it. New users who use the promo code LineStar and deposit at least $10 can get up to $100 of your deposit matched. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It helps us out. Also sign up for notifications so that you can be one of the first ones to lock in these bets when we come out with our videos. Thanks for watching. Good luck to you in all of your sports betting in Week 10 in the NFL. We'll see you next time.